This is a true story. For understandable reasons we will not use the real name and voice of the person telling the story. If you have a story to tell, a confession to make, if something is bothering you, if you are depressed and want to make your voice heard, send an email with your story, and we will make it known. You can find the email address in the video description.
I decided to write my life story in order to unload some of the enormous guilt and regrets that weigh me down now, at the age of 32. Even though some women, at this age, are just starting their lives, starting a family, or really falling in love, I am already old, older than anyone who only looks at my exterior can imagine. I've always been a beautiful girl. In the village where I was born, everyone knew everyone, and I was famous for my beauty. When people talked about me, they would say, Ilinka, that beautiful girl. Then I entered high school, in a small town, where I made conquests without moving a finger. I started to like the freedom of being away from my parents, and being so admired by all the boys around me. Of course I had a lot of relationships, I even fell seriously in love once, but, unfortunately, I had no patience with that boy, because he seemed to be much too nice, and I needed some more action. At the end of high school I met S, and then my whole life changed. S came from a very wealthy family, and he himself had a lot of money, and did all my pleasures. For a few months, as long as our relationship lasted, I got the taste of luxury, of things easily earned, just by my mere presence. I felt like a real diva, and my pride was fed unmeasured by his proofs of affection, expensive perfumes, outings, a dream holiday abroad. That was how I interpreted these material things then, as proof of love and affection. We finished high school, and S told me in a dry voice that he was going to marry the woman his parents had predestined for him, the daughter of old family friends who were also married. My heart broke in two. But deep down I couldn't even conceive of living a different life from the one he had offered me for the past few months, so I stomped my pride, and asked him if he could still support me. I'll never forget how he started laughing and said, "So, a girl like that is you. I'll introduce you to some friends, then please forget about me." We met up with his friends at a private party in a fancy club in a big city. I prefer not to name names. As soon as they saw me, S.'s three friends told me that I was very beautiful and young enough, I was 19, to be part of their business. They asked me if I wanted to earn a lot of money, and live only in fluff. Obviously I told them and almost shouted yes. "Good, then you must never go out of our word." Said and done. The next day I moved into a beautiful villa, where 5 other girls lived, almost as beautiful as me. I had everything from tasty meals every day, fancy drinks to the best cosmetics and outings. For me, it was heaven on earth. How naive and easy to shop for I could be. I started going out at night, always accompanied by one of these men, who kept his distance and whom I only announced when I had an interested customer. I only went to select places, casinos, restaurants, private parties. I only went by car or taxi. I simply didn't miss anything. I got used to sharing a bed in the same rented hotel room with a stranger, 2, 3, sometimes even 6 a night, faster than anyone expected. I never got the money, but on Mondays, every week, I got my salary. And it kept growing and growing. Of course I was seduced by the money, the comfort, the luxury, so seduced that I forgot where it all came from. I spent 3 years like that. I had become a real sex expert, and was bringing home the most money. The other girls would come and go, only I would stay and be kept in the sack by everyone. But my relationships with my clients were far from fluffy. The bosses, seeing that I was a hard worker and made as much as 2 people, started to arrange meetings with fetishists. I don't know if you have any idea what a fetishist is, but I assure you, you don't want to know. They brought in the most money, but I had a terrible time. After one night of MS, I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. And now I'm left with 2 scars from that night of nightmare for me, but, it seems, of satisfaction for that client, because he came back and wanted me too. I begged the bosses not to send me back to him, but I had no escape. I had another such night, after which I could not get out of bed for nearly 3 weeks. The bosses had contracts with various doctors, so I was well looked after. They gave me sedatives, but as I lay in bed, I made up my mind that as soon as I could stand on my own 2 feet, I would run away from that cursed house and start my own business, doing what I did best, sex. I regret those moments so much, because I didn't even realize that I could start over. I could go to college and restart my life, maybe fall in love, be poorer, but get out of that mess. But at the time, I couldn't imagine any other option. With the money I had accumulated during my years of work, I could have lived peacefully for at least half a year, during which time I could look for a serious job and rebuild my life, but no, I chose to take the road to ruin as I see it now. I rented a luxury studio in the heart of the capital, and contacted some of my old and loyal clients, for whom I had a special affinity. I had decided to meet only generous gentlemen, who were at least apparently nice to me. I still wanted to earn as much money, but not to be humiliated. I didn't even realize that my very job meant humiliation. I still went out to fancy places. At least once a month I went shopping abroad, usually invited by a client, a businessman who traveled a lot and needed someone to keep him company only at night. During the day, I would go shopping, spend more than the average woman earns in a year, and I was convinced that this is what it means to live life to the fullest. In all those years, I completely lost touch with my family, my parents, sisters and brothers. I sent them money from time to time, but I thought that if they were more resourceful, they would be richer. I thought that they could just live in poverty. However, I also had moments of lucidity, when I felt sorry for them, and sent them money, but I had never called them, I had never visited them, and they only knew that the money came from me, but they had no idea what had happened to me all this time. With time, I began to realize that I am a very lonely woman. I remember for sure that around the age of 29, there were important changes in my mentality. I felt empty inside, deserted. I hope you know what I mean. I had absolutely no girlfriend, no friend, no soul to talk to honestly, to pour out my frustration, my regrets, my tears. Sometimes, when I didn't have clients coming to me, I felt like I was going crazy within the 4 walls of my studio. Everything was so empty, so secretive, so low and hidden. I didn't even have anyone to call. I decided to start seeing a psychologist. I found a very knowledgeable lady, who made me realize who I really am. I realized, with her help and after months of psychotherapy, that I am a person who can do much more than sell my body for money. I had powerful revelations, such as that beauty was not my only quality, that I could grow in many directions, that I could do many things with my life. Within 2 years, I had completely transformed myself, through psychotherapy, and the hundreds of books I had read. Finally, the psychologist lady told me that she needed a new secretary, and if I wanted to take the last step in starting a new life, I could come work at her office. It was the nicest chance anyone has ever given me. When I saw the salary, I couldn't believe that someone could earn so little money for a month's work, 8 hours a day, but it was enough for a not luxurious but decent living. Last year I decided to have a baby. I hadn't yet met a suitable man to be the father of my child, but I wanted to get a full set of tests first and only then look for a way to get pregnant. Artificial insemination seemed the best solution. Even if I didn't have all the money I needed yet, I could save up or try to get a loan. But the test results were terrible. I'm infertile. I have a uterine malformation, because of which I will never be able to have children, with or without artificial insemination. I felt like the sky was falling in when I found this out, especially as I wanted a child more and more. When the doctor told me the news, he said, "This is your destiny, there's nothing you can do. I will never be able to have a child, I am completely alone, I can't get up the courage to contact my parents, brothers or sisters, I have experienced the most terrible things a woman can experience, I have seen the most frightening sides of men, I don't know any man I can really fall in love with, I have a prostitute's past and I feel 10 times older than I really am. I'm sure I'm now living my punishment for the life I've led, but how long will it last?"